Good morning or good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to the Bubba and
Johnny Warrior. This is our Illuminati Conspiracy Network, and today is Conspiracy Friday. Today, what are we talking about, Bubba?
we are talking about the Aswang or Talk or
Yes.
Walk or
Yeah, they.
numerous names.
Yeah, tick tick, biot, walk, sock, clean. There's like a plethora of names that this thing goes by, but in essence, this is a shape-shifting figure. What we're going to do is we're going to discuss a little bit is and where it came from and why even in modern today this is such a prominent figure that is, people are actually the people you're associated with Mindanao, the family you're associated down there. What's your experience with this?
Well, it's okay. I have a child, as most of our audience knows, and I kind of really discovered about it while she was pregnant because we lived in a subdivision, but it was kind of semi-rural, sort of, and here in Davao, and she was scared of walking alone at nighttime from where the jeepney dropped her off at to our little house, and she would talk about how she hated that walk because she was scared of the walk because according to them, if you're pregnant, you smell sweet to them, I guess like a good meal. And there would be garlic on the windowsill, and it's funny because I would always find pieces of garlic on the windowsill, and so I'd go to cook, so I'd grab the garlic. And one day I said, "Why do you keep putting the garlic up on the windowsill?" And she said, "It'll keep away the walk." And that's when she kind of went into more about it. But
Okay, well let's talk a little bit about why this particular thing is feared by pregnant women, because what they'll do is what this is it's kind of and it depends upon where you're at. You need to understand that the Aswang is a little different, but there's some commonalities between all the folklore on this, and with eyewitness sightings of it. Number one, it is a female. All right. Number two, it's a combination of a vampire and witch. All right. In some places, like in Samar, Leyte, Southern Luzon, it's more on the witch side. Down in Bisaya and Mindanao, it's more on the vampire side. Mm-hmm. Now, in some places, like in Pahol, right, in the Cebuano areas or Cebu areas and Negros areas and northern Mindanao, this creature has the ability to separate in half. Okay, so it detaches the top of its trunk and that leaves it and flies away, leaving the bottom part of its body away. All right, on the ground, and then it'll reconnect when it's done feeding or whatever it's going to do. Feeding is fetuses and small children. That's what it eats, right? Now, where this came from, or where it's speculated it came from, well, some of the things, and the garlic is kind of interesting. Garlic, salt, religious items, holy water, all these. Yeah, exactly. That's why it parallels vampire. But here's the other thing: how do you kill an Aswang? How do you get rid of an Aswang?
Yeah, you could. Well, you could behead it.
That's it. That's the only way you can get rid of it is beheading. All right. Now, one of the things that it does is, remember, it can take once it feeds, the cadaver that's left behind, right, is filled with I want to say it's like banana trunk or banana tree or something, some kind of organic material. And then that entity, right, that shell goes back to the house and dies. Okay, or goes back to wherever its dwelling is and dies. So let's say somebody's out for a walk, they come down and feed on a child. Okay, that child is, you know, filled with whatever organic material, and then it's goes back to its dwelling, and then it dies. And you know, there's also some areas of Luzon where it will go if there's a, you know, like a wake, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll go in and it'll feed off of a cadaver in a wake.
Mm-hmm.
So it's generally the week, and it's always at night. Now, some of the other traits of these bad boys, right, is I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I'm getting dynamite tomorrow for the family barbecue, and she just brought in these beautiful large chilies that she's going to make the dynamite out of.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like dynamite? I love dynamite.
I like hot peppers.
Well, you know what dynamite is, right?
No.
Okay, they take a pepper, they cut it open, they stuff it full of cheese, and then they'll use like ground pork, or they'll use like the spicy, sweet and spicy tuna,
Mm-hmm.
and then close it back up, wrap it with a lumpia wrapper, and then deep fry it. So it's a Philippine version of a jalapeno popper.
Oh, okay. I used to grow habaneros.
Dude, these things are beautiful, but they don't kill Aswang. That's the only bad thing. Okay, now, so how do you tell an Aswang? Do you know how you can tell that you're talking to? Well, before we do that, can you talk a little bit about them being daywalkers and, you know, their life, their duality in life?
Yes, they're not harmed by sunlight. As you said, they are daywalkers. They can also be befriended. Can talk to you like any normal human being. They can laugh, cry, get angry, sad, hurt, humiliated.
Now, see, you said a key word there. They can be befriended, and they won't attack. They won't feed off of neighbors, friends, family, right?
Right.
And that's why that's where that saying comes from. You know, an Aswang's better than a thief because a thief will steal from its family, and friends, but an Aswang won't feed from its family or friends.
Exactly. And they search for food in faraway places.
Yes.
So that's
now
it won't be too obvious.
Isn't there something about if they marry?
They can marry a human, and it's said that upon marrying the human will become an Aswan, but they can't reproduce.
Well,
and
it's unlikely that they reproduce.
True.
Because there is a few stories about Aswangs that do reproduce.
Yes. And they...
Okay, that's funny, Wes. That's actually pretty funny.
They won't feed together either. They'll each go their separate way because they don't want to share their food with each other.
Well, that or they're not trying to draw attention. You know, here's another thing about them relative to them being daywalkers. So you know you could interact with them, and there's a couple signs that you know you're talking to an Aswang. Number one, bloodshot eyes, because you know they're up all night. Number two, if you look in their eyes and your reflection is upside down.
Yep.
All right. And number three, if you were to look, you standing up, you bend over and look between your legs, and you look at the you look at the individual, and the individual does not have a medial cleft, or you know the little ridge on your lip. It's called a phylum, right? Mm-hmm. If they don't have that, and that's absent when you're looking at them from between your legs while standing up, they're an Aswang.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here is one of the things about this critter. Now, where did it come from? Now, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of anthropological these guys that are studying folklore and culture and stuff like that. The anthropologists. Their view is that what this was a story that was made up during Spanish colonialism that they used to control the population. Like, hey, don't go out in the forest and don't get out of your towns at night, because what'll happen is these scary things will come down and eat your children, or they can eat you, or they can attack you, or whatever. Now, if you guys go over to like Wikipedia and the resources that Wikipedia put out, that is a consensus. But there are some liners out there, anthropological studies, that have the Aswang predating Spanish occupation. All right. Okay, hold on. Let me help Sir Liner for a minute. It's ASWANG, Alpha Sierra Whiskey Alpha November Golf. Another way to spell it is Alpha Sierra Uniform Whiskey Alpha November Golf. So it's the Aswang or Aswang, right? Is the pronunciation of it in spelling. Now, and that word, the Aswang, is actually derived from Sanskrit word asura, which is demon, right? So it is a demon, is what they're saying. Hey, you need to send that to me too, Dick Insider, at JohnnyWarriorTV@gmail.com. I want to see it. Because actually, white ladies are our next week's topic. Which is basically ghosts, is what it is. So we're gonna this predated a lot of. There are some writings or some I don't know, like the carving of something similar to an Aswang that predated the Spanish occupation or Spanish colonialism. All right. Now, why do you think this thing is so popular today?
I think, well, here's the thing. I think people deep down inside like to be scared. Everybody likes a good ghost. In most cases, people like a good ghost story. And there was also an article in the newspaper about it a couple years ago here, where some people in, I'm probably saying this wrong, but it's Maguindanao and North Cotabato, that there were some attacks there. And
yes,
it's in the newspaper.
Well, I mean, that here it is. We're talking about the quote unquote folklore of this. This is another one of those aspects, just like the New Jersey Devil. All right. So it's easy for us to write these things off. It is. All right. And let's just be open-minded for a minute of the presence of what, of course, in a story, things can always get blown out and can get fabricated. Okay. I'm sure that there is no creature that detaches itself and rips itself in half and then reattaches. I actually doubt that there's something out there that is vampiristic, okay? But do you believe in demonic possession? Do you believe in the whole, if you're theologically based, the whole existence of what the realm of Earth was at one time, the angel Lucifer, right, was the king of Earth. This was his domain. This is where he was, all right? And he got so to the point, that's where, he got jealous of God. You know, he raised an army. They had the big battle, the fallen angels. 50% of them were cast out, or a third of them were cast out, thrown. And, you know, then you have God making man, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the jealousy of Satan to man, because man is now over, biblically over, king of the domain, of a domain that he used to possess that he no longer can. So if you guys at all have any faith in what the Bible says, right, there's logically a crossover between demons.
Mm-hmm.
What's to say this thing isn't a demon or some kind of demonic? You know, for them to be in the physical realm, they have to possess an individual in order to do this. And what, you know, what does demons do? They manipulate illusion. They manipulate situation. They manipulate ideology. They get, you know, they get question in the heart, question of faith, question, you know, they start to hit at the soul of an individual. So if they have the capacity to mentally distort somebody in order to make them act on something, right? What's to say that the person the victim of this is not seeing, you know, what it is possessing an individual? So maybe that's where the bat wings come from. That's where a lot of this other alter shape-shifting occurrence is occurring, because that's what they are, right? They're supposed to be shapeshifters, correct? All right. So does that theory at all make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it does.
Well, what do you think?
Well, I mean, it only makes sense because, you know, a lot of times too, we as humans, we'll use like stories or tales to try to explain something that we don't understand, the unexplainable as well. And, you know, it does make sense too that in the Bible, you know, demons can take on human form or can possess humans. So why wouldn't demons take a grotesque form?
Well, exactly. You know, I mean, what is it? I don't think the question is does an Aswang exist? See, I don't think that's the question. All right. Okay, we're not going to talk about canonization, Popeye, because if you actually read the Bible as a whole, all of it, okay, the book of Enoch and the book of Jasher has a lot of explanation, you know, because they pulled them out because it creeps people out when people are starting to read the books of Enoch and the books of Jasher when they canonize the Bible, you know. But there's a lot out there. If you read it all in all, you know, that explains a lot, you know, like the times of giants. And, you know, a lot of people don't understand what they're talking about when, you know, when Moses was talking about Enoch, right, in Genesis, because, you know, the first 5 books are the books of Moses. Moses wrote those, all right?
The Pentateuch.
When he was talking about Enoch, you know, and you read the book of Enoch, there's a lot of stuff about demons, about when the angels laid with the maidens of man, right? With the giants, you know, with the basically the superhumans, which were the children of the angels. You know, there's all this that people don't understand that precursed the existence of man. You know, we think that the world was made and man occupied. There was a whole bunch of stuff that was going on before man, and then there was stuff that's being left out biblically during man, you know, right after the Garden of Eden, and when man started to populate and what was going on. So there's a whole conjecture there when we start talking about uncanonized aspects of what the Bible has to say. All right?
Mm-hmm.
When we start to question things, and I think that's how we should approach this, is not so much does the Aswang exist, right? But what is it people are seeing that they're calling the Aswang, right? Because, I mean, at a certain point, you have to understand whether we want to put it in the realm of psychology, whether we want to put it in the realm of parapsychology, whether we want to put it in the realm of anthropology, whatever it is, there is something that people are putting together. What is it? And there's some of these things that just, you know, well, Popeye, we're talking about the Aswang. We're not going to talk about the Bible or the biblical, the aspects of, you know, or theology in general. That's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is open your mind up, right? That there's more to understanding than what you see physically, right? No matter what religion you are, okay? There's more to this than what we're understanding, you know? So I don't want to make this, we'll do another Friday on theology in general and what people and how it is. You know, you guys understand, you know, I am a devout Christian and I do know the Bible. That's one of my arguments on certain individuals that like to quote it and claim, you know, false prophet, being a false prophet in that aspect. But, you know, I think that there's a lot of explanation there. You know, I think that there is a lot of stuff that we take for granted and we write off that could be explained in the realm of spirituality, especially if we're already in agreement that if you're a person of faith and you believe that there are demons and demons have the ability to manipulate individuals and what they see or manipulate them to convince them to do something. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, here's an example I could give you. People lived a lot longer before the flood. After the flood, people don't live nearly as long.
Exactly. And
why
you know,
is that?
Well, the Bible explains why that occurred. Because, you know, he put term limits. He put term limits on mankind because the longer they lived, the more they messed it up.
He knew we can only suffer through so many years of marriage.
Yeah, maybe that's it. But, you know, here, what's amazing is, you know, this is a Catholic state. You know, the Philippines, hands down, is a Catholic state. Why then, if Christianity or Catholicism, okay, not trying to start the argument of whether Catholicism is Christianity, vice versa, or anything like that, but with Catholicism being so prominent, how is it things like the Aswang have such a foothold in the culture here?
Yeah.
You're a fan.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I find it to be a kind of a mix of Catholicism and humanism, actually. On the one aspect, it's very Catholic, but on the other aspect, it's kind of like live and let live, too. And I say that because you have such a prevalence here of homos and ladyboys.
Well, but see, I think that's the anti-Catholic presence that's always persistent with a prominent Catholicism. You know, I mean, in strong Catholic neighborhoods in the U.S., you get the same paralleling contrast. You know, but I also think that it's culturally in the Philippine mind, you know, they're more forgiving and they're more accepting.
Yeah.
You know, I think that it's not so much humanism. I think it's just a cultural avenue that they're prior. You got to admit one thing about the Philippines. These guys do have their priorities set right. Okay, because money ain't everything, man.
It ain't.
That's not what caps the cake in the culture here.
That's very true, which is kind of refreshing because in the U.S., you know, in a lot of other countries, I'm sure it's all about materialism. How much stuff can you accrue? And you know, it's when I
Is
first
it
got
me or
here.
you break it out?
I think it's you. I don't know. I can't tell. Let's ask the audience.
Am I breaking up to you?
No, you sound okay to me.
All right, because I don't know if it's my connection or what the deal is.
I,
You know, yeah.
yeah,
And Sir
materialism is a
Liner
religion.
has
Okay.
a. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. I was going to say, West CW made a good point. The real religion is money in America. That's very true.
Yeah.
Money is definitely the religion. And it's funny. I was reading this story about it used to be that the tallest buildings in cities were churches. But look at your average American city now. What are the tallest buildings? They're banks.
Yeah.
Bank buildings.
Well, but you know, remember, money is the first Antichrist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is. Everybody's looking for a person. It's not. It's money. Money is going to be the downfall of mankind. It's going to be the backbreaker of what it is globally, because it's got global influence. You know, it's got global power. It's got a global identity because everybody knows what it is. Right? There's no one individual that's going to have the influence that money has.
Correct. I think love of money is the root of all evil. I don't think it's money. I think because, and here's why, because
money
man
can corrupt any individual.
Man has made money into God.
Well, see, but you're avoiding it, man. All right. Yes, man's made money into God, but man is of sin. See, now we're going down this path. Let's pull it out. Aswang. We're talking about Aswang. We're not going to do this one in the. This is not going to do the theological base. But, and see, Sir Liner's got another one about the Catholic Church in the Philippines being a whole another topic. But these are individual topics we have. You need to be writing these down, Bubba. I mean, that's true. Money is the Antichrist, right? The Catholic Church in the Philippines. These are all great topics for another Friday.
Roanoke Island. Wes mentioned that earlier. That's another good one.
You know. So anyway, now it's almost like we made the movement from one to the other and trying to pull back into the Aswang is kind of moot, man. You know, but I think that the concept, you know, you're saying humanism, and I'm not sure that in itself is a factor of why these topics or these entities, why, you know, trolls and fairies and Aswangs and, you know, all these little critters, physical critters, exist in the cultural folklore of the Philippines. I don't think it's humanism. You know, I think that there's a dynamic in spirituality that's different here than other places, and there's a ingrained mystique to the region. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking, humanism is really deism. God started it; it's up to man to finish it. But again, that's going off topic.
Yeah.
We're getting all kinds of ideas for other shows, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, you know, and you did. Everybody does like a good ghost story, Bubba. You pointed that out. Wes is just now pointing that out, and everybody likes this stuff. Come on, man. You know, But and you know, Bobby K, I'm gonna say this, and I don't want anybody to get hurt at all about this, because, you know, everybody has individual beliefs and they have the right to their individual beliefs. But I do think it's a little narrow-minded and flat earth theory to sit here and think that us as an organic organism has only the value of the time frame that we start life on Earth and end life on Earth. I think that's very narrow-minded cosmically, because we're talking about, in a cosmic sense, a realm of infinality, right? Is the universe not infinite? Bubba?
Yes, the universe is infinite.
Okay, so that means that
infant.
Okay, so that means the resources, the which could be both organic and non-organic resources, are infinite as well. That means that it's always present and never-ending. I don't think there's an end at all universally. So somewhere it started to, and with it's somewhere it started, but I don't think there's an ending point to it. I think that all aspects of what we are, as the physical aspect of an organism, okay, to the concept of what we are spiritually, has no end to it. I don't think that it ends at death. I don't know what that continuation is. I have no concept, and I don't think we're supposed to know. But I don't think by any means, I think it's very narrow-minded, you know, to think that, oh, you know, we end up warm dirt and that's it. You know, look at, you know, Stephen Hawking's. He's the one that, you know, has the theory of the God particle, right? You guys understand what that is?
Yes and no.
Okay, and I'm going to give a quick little tidbit. I'm going to just do this as quickly and as keeping it simple as possible. So if you break all matter down, and let's say that we can break it, and hypothetically, we can break it to a particular particle, a single particle that is suspended in a void. Okay. Now we've broken it down to a concept that single particle started everything. Thus, you know, the original theory was, thus, there is no existence of God because it started at the single particle. Now, let's flip the coin on this. That theory actually, it proves the existence of God. Because if you are a void of nothing, right, absence of all, there is only one thing that can exist in the infinite mass of nothing, the infinite space of nothing, and that is God. Where did the particle come from? Where did the first electric charge come from? Where did the matter come from? There is no such thing as spontaneous existence. Even if you're an evolutionist, it's not spontaneous existence. It comes and evolves and derives from something. So even if we're not talking about the Adam and Eve, which could very well be a story to, you know, explain something that is very complex into where it's easy to explain existence to individuals. And even if there is a balance of evolution, right? Somewhere, at some point in time, something had to make it. It doesn't just exist. There's no way, scientifically, you know, philosophically, that goes against all aspects of philosophy. You know, you don't just simply exist. Everything has is derived from something or counter influenced by something or associated to something or impacts or develops to something, you know, it is. So, like, you know, and I'm sure there's people that can argue, but I can almost, you know, Dave is, you know, half in, half out relative to what faith and theology is. He's here in the background. But I guarantee you on the battlefield, he would also tell you that there is no such thing as an atheist on the battlefield. Because in the moment of time when those bullets come down range, what's the first thing that people are doing is they're getting down on their knees and praying to God, please get me out of here. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't believe in atheism. I think that's the one thing I don't believe in is atheism. Because it's human nature, because we're programmed to know and we're programmed for a need to fill that. You know, free will comes into the aspect of that here we are, here's the word, here's the proper path. Our free will is either to grasp it and have faith in it or look elsewhere to fill that void. You know, that's my own personal belief, right? But you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a fact of life that everybody has a need to have some spiritual guidance somewhere. You know, I think that ties into a lot of this stuff that we're talking about with the Aswang and the little trolls and the little fairies that they believe in here and everything like that. I think that it's just, you know, maybe at some point it's not a matter of if the Aswang actually exists. It's a matter of what is it people are seeing that they're not quite understanding, or they're probably maybe even fully understanding. So what is the spiritual aspect of the behind the scenes of what the Aswang is and what it represents? Is it demonic? Is it a demon? Is it, you know, what are the factors behind it? I don't know. But you yourself, you know, you're bringing up articles that, you know, towns are seeing it. There was killings, you know, that there's eyewitnesses to this critter, right? Even now, you know, without a doubt, do witches exist?
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's one of the things that are defined. That's one of the things that are defined as an Aswang. It could be either, it depends upon where you're at, from a vampire-like entity to a full-fledged demon to a witch. So if we're going to agree that witches exist, right? You know, because that's an ideal, that's a faith, that's an ideology, right? Then thus Aswangs exist by definition, correct?
Correct. They do. They always exist in our minds. In one form or another. The tails. Excuse me. Anyway. But it's funny. We were having a conversation yesterday. And, you know, because one time Lynn asked me, you know, do you have Aswangs in America? And I said, well, sweetheart, I'll tell you like this. If we did, somebody would have shot one dead already. Some redneck would have shot one dead by now. So, or somebody armed. But
I mean, I guess that's a good theory, but didn't we just say that the only way to kill an Aswang is by beheading it?
Yes. But,
but what if it's a demon?
true.
Is shooting a demon going to work? I mean, I don't know. Do you believe in spirits and ghosts?
Yes, I do, to some extent.
I mean, I know what my personal experiences are on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've had personal experiences with that as well. So yes, I do. But
now we don't want to go into them.
no,
we don't want to go into it because we're going to save that for next week when we talk about it, because we got some good stuff.
Yes, we do. I actually got a topic I want to bring up to you relating to that. once we sign off the show, of course. Okay, you have any? We might as well go ahead and close. You got anything to add, Johnny, in closing?
No, I love these topics, man. Now, remember, guys, what we're trying to do is we're building up to something in October that we're going to spring on you. And we're going to have a little bit of an event that we're going to do. And, you know, all this Ghost Goblins and stuff is going up into a holiday thing that Bubba and I are going to do. So it'll be good. Just keep tuned, keep listening, keep contributing, you know, because this conversation, see the twists and turns in the way we talk about this, you know, I think it's a good thing.
Definitely. Okay. Well, everybody, I guess we will go ahead and close the show for now, but tune in next Friday, most definitely, for another episode. And thanks for tuning in, and we appreciate you all. And anything to add, Johnny, before we go ahead?
I appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you for the time, and peace out.
Take care, everybody, and may the sun be shining wherever you may be. Have a great week, everybody. Okay, 1 second.